My fellow Americans, I am speaking to you tonight from the Oval Office. Contrary to certain press reports, I have not left Washington, nor have I evacuated any member of my family or of the cabinet. I know the uncertainty of the last few days has been incredibly trying, and I will now tell you all I can without endangering our fighting men and women. In the early hours of this morning, I asked Congress for a declaration of war on the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics and her allies in the Warsaw Pact. I can tell you now that this declaration has been made and has been in effect for the last several hours. A formal note has been delivered to the Soviet Presidium via our ambassador in Moscow. As you already know, a state of war has existed since Thursday at around 4 a.m. Central European Time, when unprovoked attacks via the USSR's terrorist proxies struck at the heart of NATO. What changes now is the intensity of this war. As many of you serving, or with loved ones serving in the armed forces already know, I have activated Operation REFORGER. REFORGER means return of forces to Germany, and that is the mission. The delivery of the full striking power of our military to the heart of the continent. Even now, the largest airborne armada ever assembled, carrying a force of soldiers more numerous than Washington's Continental Army at its zenith, is somewhere over the black waters of the North Atlantic. They will descend upon Europe and the Soviet bridgehead and deliver a decisive blow. This is only the first phase. In the coming days, it will become very difficult to travel long distances, as the vast bulk of civilian airliners and ships will, in keeping with long-standing arrangements with their owners, be placed into government service. This transport capability will be needed, as the armed services are expected to swell to over 1 million active duty personnel within the month. Much of this need will be filled by activating reservists and National Guardsmen, but I can tell you now that selective service, better known as the draft, will go into force over the next 48 hours. I will address the nation again at that date to give a frank and forthright accounting of how and when our young men will answer their nation's call. I will not understate the gravity of what is to come. The fate of billions, born and unborn, rests now on the Allied fighting man and the arsenal of democracy that stands behind him. I know also that for the third time in as many generations, it will be the fate of some of our young men to die on the battlefields of Europe, in old and famous cities like Paris, Berlin, and Warsaw, for a cause they may not have chosen. Their sacrifice will speak for itself, but as their commander and chief, I feel compelled to say, the ideals of liberty which were born on that troubled continent were perfected here, in America, and with our great strength and great conviction, it is our duty to redeem those ideals when tyranny sullies them, even if they must be redeemed in blood. May God bless and keep each one of you, and may God bless America.